So pumped and excited for today's guest on the show as we get back into the Paralympics. A two-time Paralympian on the show today, American record holder, and one that is a weird connection to a former show that I used to do, a Survivor contestant, which I'm excited to cover all the bases of the show here on Off the Podium today. It's a pleasure to welcome Noelle Lambert to the show. Noelle, first of all, welcome to Off the Podium.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here because I'm not sure if many long-term listeners or watchers of this show would know my background, where I came from other podcasting. I, back in the day, hosted a Survivor podcast. That's how I sort of got into podcasting for a long time. So it kind of feels weird to be not only talking to a Survivor contestant for the first time in a long time in my podcasting career, but also not really here to talk to you about Survivor. It's kind of just this weirdness coming around. I wanted to start off by asking, right now, do you get recognized more for being a Paralympian or a Survivor contestant?
Oh, Survivor every single time. Yeah,
yep.
Everyone. It's not all the time, but it's actually really funny because I am an amputee. So a lot of people recognize the prosthetic leg before they recognize my face. I went to a Survivor watch party that actually CBS hosted, and I was wearing pants, and I did that on purpose because I wanted to see, how many people would recognize me right off the bat. And I was in the room for like 10 minutes, and then people started like recognizing my face. But yeah, it's all Survivor, unfortunately. Hopefully, one of these days I'll get a Paralympic being recognized for the Paralympics. But no, I mean, I understand. Survivor's such a great show, and honored to be recognized every once in a while. It's cool, but it always comes at like the worst moments where I'm not expecting it, like an airport or just like times where I'm exhausted. And then like I want to put on a smile. Like I want to talk to whoever like had the courage to come up and talk to me. Like I'm a Survivor fan. So yeah, anytime someone recognizes me, I always like want to get into like Survivor, like how they're liking the upcoming season and stuff like that. So
is it one of those ones where people often just look at you for a while and they're just trying to work out where they know you from?
Yes, honestly. And before I did Survivor, I mean, I would have people staring at me all the time just because I have a disability. I'm an amputee. And I always used to I just would stare right back at them, like being like, all right, I gave you 2 looks. Now, like, if you want to come and talk to me, come and talk to me. Just stop staring at me. In the amount of times now after being on the show where people were staring at me and I would stare at them because I thought that they were just staring at me because I had a prosthetic leg, but they were really they recognized me. And then I had to like switch my whole like, so nice to meet you. Like I was giving them the stink eye. But that's happened quite a few times as well.
I always find it's one of those things where you can probably have fun with it, right? Like, if they're trying to work out where you say like, like just completely embarrass them and say like, oh yeah, do you watch this or something like that? And they're probably going, no, I don't watch that. And you're like, no, you know me from Survivor. It's fine. Just completely embarrass them depending on who they're
One
with.
of these times I have to be like, no, it was that other girl with one leg. It's not me. Not all amputees are the same. Just to like mess with them. But
yes, exactly. I'm not Kelly Bruno. Come on. This is offensive.
I know.
Completely go. I'm glad you clarified that because we actually, many years ago, we had an Australian Survivor contestant / Olympian, Ziggy Zagame, who was a water polo player. And she said a very similar thing that she's like, no one recognizes me for my Olympic achievements. She's a bronze medalist too. So she's like, no one even realizes that I'm an Olympic bronze medalist. So just talk to me about Survivor. She's like, come on now, talk to me about that. So I'm sure when people recognize you for the athletic career though, you're kind of like, yes, all right, let's talk about this.
Yeah. Speaking of Australian Survivor, love it. I think it's incredible. You didn't hear this from me, but I honestly like it better than the US version right now. I think it's just so cutthroat. I hear that a lot. It just reminds us of the old school days of Survivor. It's incredible. The competitors, I love the hosts. I would love to go on Australian Survivor one day because that's just, I feel like if you want old school Survivor, you go to Australian Survivor.
I think you might have a chance, Noelle, because we've got a habit of inviting US survivors, and later this year they are doing sort of the international battle of US, Norway, Australia, New Zealand. So I think you got a chance. I'll pass your name on. We know some people at Channel 10.
Yeah, let's do it. I would love it. They haven't had an amputee on, so let me be the first.
They haven't.
I would love that.
Exactly. That is very true. They never had one on Australian Survivor. So would love to see you on it there because it is actually a common thing we hear a lot in this part of the world is that a lot of people do enjoy the Australian one a lot more. I mean, obviously, if people don't watch Survivor anymore, it's changed now. It's a shorter format now, of course, and sort of much more rapid pace compared to those old school days. And I'm literally wearing an old school Survivor shirt, so I am definitely old school fan. So
absolutely. And what was the first season I saw? It was the one where King George was it Heroes versus Villains?
Yep.
Yeah, that was the first season. And I just remember watching it. And like the entire time, I'm like, this might be one of the best seasons of Survivor I've ever seen, period. It was incredible. I loved it. And I loved how it was on more than once a week because it was on like 3 days a week. It's beautiful. Yeah. Why can't we get that here?
reality TV in Australia, habits of having like multiple nights. Like back in the peak Big Brother days, Big Brother was literally on 6 out of 7 nights a week. That is how much it was sort of a deal here. And all of our reality shows are multiple nights. So, Married at First Sight is the big show here in Australia. And that is on, I think, like 3 or 4 nights a week. I don't know how they do that. Don't know how many people get married at first sight in this country, but hey, they milk the crap out of it. So,
that's awesome.
Anyway, that's how reality TV works. But we'll touch a bit more on Survivor at the end. But just in terms of your amazing athletics career and everything that you've gone through and everything that you've achieved, I want to start off just growing up lacrosse, because this is a sport that in this part of the world isn't really that big of a deal. I know it's huge, obviously, in the US. So just take us back to what got you involved in lacrosse, and were you sort of involved in other sports at the same time before sort of lacrosse took over?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up with 3 older brothers, and all of them were great athletes. So from a very early age, I fell in love with being a competitor and being an athlete. And I actually started off playing soccer and basketball. I'm like, those were my 2 main sports. And I honestly thought that I would probably go to college for soccer. I mean, I know how difficult it is to play basketball in college. I also didn't have the height that typically you need. And so it wasn't until I was in middle school where lacrosse was kind of becoming bigger in my town. So I just honestly tried it out and I fell in love with it. And it was something that, it's a sport that I could take things from soccer, I could take things from basketball, and I could incorporate it into lacrosse. I mean, the only thing I had to learn was the stick skills, but it was just something I fell in love with. And I think the opportunities of playing lacrosse in college when I was starting off, it was, a lot easier than it was for soccer and basketball because there were so many opportunities for scholarships and all these different programs. So I just knew that I could have a better chance at that. And that was honestly the sport that I started falling in love with even more. And I started every single year, I would get better progressively. And so that's really how I started in middle school. But I still continued playing soccer, basketball as well. And in high school, that's what I did. In the fall, I played soccer, basketball in the winter, and lacrosse was in the spring. And then in the summer, it was a combination of basketball and lacrosse with the travel teams. So it kept me busy.
Was there any, lacrosse obviously at that stage, not an Olympic sport, basketball, soccer are. Was there ever any sort of Olympic aspirations or kind of anything along those lines growing up?
No, honestly, I was just looking towards college. Of course, soccer and basketball, you can have professional careers in, but I honestly never even looked at that level. I just thought that I would play until college, and then who knows, maybe I'd be a coach, or I would find something else I was passionate about. But honestly, I wasn't looking at the Olympics or anything. I mean, when I thought of the Olympics, it was all these incredible, badass athletes that, are just this peak performance that you have to be like this incredible athlete. And obviously I looked at myself as a pretty great athlete, but before my accident, like I hated practice, I hated doing extra work. It was like pulling teeth with me. I had that natural talent, but I really settled a lot. And it wasn't until after my accident where I finally understood what hard work was. But growing up, it was like freshman year of high school. And once I started making the varsity teams, and once I made the varsity teams, it was like, okay, well, what else do I have to do now? Now I have to get to college. And then once I got a scholarship, it was like, all right, I don't need to do any extra hard work. And that's when I look back and I'm so ashamed of it because, I did go through the motions a lot, and it was really like, okay, well, what if I did apply myself? Would I be playing at one of the top Division I programs in the country? Like what would have happened? So that's really what the tricky thing about me is I never went above and beyond in practice. It was always, I'm an in-game player and I'm very competitive. So that's why coaches loved and hated me at the same time, is because I had so much potential, but I kind of just went through the motions when I really needed to be putting in that work.
This is what I love about your story, is just sort of the inspirational message you're able to sell now and reflecting on everything that you've been through. Because one thing that I love reading sort of after your accident, when you got into track, is that you essentially hated running. This was not something that you even liked. And yet here we are now talking to you as a 2-time Paralympian, American record holder, you know, all these great achievements. So
still not crazy about it, but
well, I mean, I love tell the journey, the story sort of after the accident, what then got you involved into track, because you did try to stay into lacrosse, if I'm not mistaken, after the accident, did you not?
Yeah. So when I lost my leg, I mean, I was very fortunate enough to have a lot of people, a lot of the survivors from the Boston Marathon bombing who were amputees. They reached out to me. A few of them came to visit, and seeing them and hearing their stories, that really made me realize, okay, this isn't going to be an end of my life isn't over just because I lost my leg. Like, these people are sitting across from me telling me I'll be able to live the active lifestyle that I wanted to live. So that's when I honestly decided that I'm going to play lacrosse again, even if it's never been done before and nobody's ever is an above knee amputee has ever played collegiate lacrosse. I'm going to get this done. Obviously, I didn't know how difficult it was going to be, but that's what I had my mind set on. And if I put my mind to something, I tend to try it or accomplish it, and I will never quit. So it took me about a year. It really took a year and a half before I can actually get comfortable with my prosthetic legs. I mean, going through the process of getting a running blade, because insurance companies will only cover your everyday walking prosthetic. So I needed a foundation to donate my running prosthetic. And once I was able to receive that, that's really when everything hit me all at once. And I was thinking, if I'm struggling running in a straight line, how am I going to be able to play at one of the highest levels that you can play in for collegiate lacrosse? I need to be able to cut back and forth. I need to be able to backpedal. It's lacrosse is all about, being able to shift and being able to cut and just have your head on a swivel. So that's really what I struggled with. But I had an incredible team behind me, incredible coaches, and I was able to work myself back on the field my junior year, and I was able to play again. And I carried that all the way through senior year. I created a great role for myself on the team. When I ended up playing again, somebody from the track and field world reached out and they asked if I've ever thought about pursuing the sport. And this is when I was still a junior. And in the back of my head, I was thinking, this could be a really cool opportunity to represent my country, but obviously I don't know how great I'm going to be at it. I knew that I was fast with 2 legs, because every single time we did a run test and our coach said, okay, if you come in first, you're all done for the day. I would always be first. But if it was just a typical run test, I would always be in last place. So I knew that the speed was there. So that's when I just thought to myself, okay, maybe I'll give this a try when I graduate. I really wanted to give all my effort into playing lacrosse for my senior year, because I know that was going to be my last year. I wasn't going to take my red shirt and repeat another year. I knew that I was probably going to be done after my senior year. So when I was done playing lacrosse, I honestly signed myself up for the first disabled track meet that I found. It was in Arizona, and I had about a month to train for it.
Wow.
I didn't have a track coach yet. I was honestly trying to Google above knee amputees coming out of starting blocks. Wasn't really getting a lot of, I wasn't getting anything that could help me. And I was struggling in that aspect, but I just kept showing up to the track and just running in a straight line, saying, okay, well, maybe if I could just be quick, then it'll be good enough. And I honestly showed up to my first meet, and I hit the qualifying times to be a part of the US Paralympic national track and field team. And I also won the race. I beat the reigning national champion. And I always credit that to, the 2 years prior to that, when I was doing run tests with a prosthetic leg with my teammates, if I ever came in last place, I had to do 10 burpees, because, whoever came in last place. And that's really what was preparing me for this one moment. So I'm also a competitor. And if somebody doubts me, or if somebody says I can't do something, then I'll die trying to prove them wrong. So that really is, the story of how I was able to accomplish that. But then I found a track coach in Boston, and I found a Paralympian, Famita Ayambecker, who was a below the knee amputee. And she just took me under her wing and introduced me to the sport. And yeah, I mean, fast forward however many years later, I mean, I'm not training with, she ended up leaving me and moving to Maryland. And then I ended up moving to California to train a lot. So, but I mean, this Friday I'm seeing her. So we still come back and forth together. I mean, it's just, that's really where it started. And I
Wow.
qualified for my first world championships, like fast forward 3 months into competing in the sport, placed fourth in the world and broke the American record. So I had some pretty early success, but I knew that it was just going to get more difficult and more challenging as the years went on. It's just going to get more competitive because the people outside of the United States that I compete against, they are animals. They are very fast. And I've learned a lot from them the last few years.
Well, I mean, a few things to touch on there, but that one, just on what you said there, I mean, we've discovered that a lot with a lot of the Paralympians who have had on the show, is that sort of when they've transitioned into their sport and kind of see that success and then where they're competing at right now. And I think that, and I'm not sure whether you'd agree with this or not, Noelle, is that it just shows the development of parasport around the world, at how competitive it's becoming, because, you know, it's developing a lot, it's developing all the time, so that even the athletes who are starting today who maybe are doing well by the time we get to LA, may be nowhere near it, because again, we're seeing it rapidly grow with the performance of athletes kind of every single Paralympic cycle, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's incredible to see. I mean, I am so grateful to be a part of the movement, and to see where it's come in just the last 3-4 years. I mean, even from Tokyo to Paris, I mean, the exposure that the Paralympians are getting is amazing. And I think that's the most important part, because the more we get the word out, the more people with disabilities who are already athletes will realize, oh, well, maybe I can do this. Why can't I become a Paralympian? And then it's just going to grow the sport and make it that much more fun to watch and bring that competitive aspect that you see in the Olympics or any other professional sport. So it's amazing to be a part of. And I'm truly excited for the future, because it seems to just keep growing and keep getting bigger.
You must, when you beat the, reigning American champion in that first race and your first time doing it, I mean, when you go out for dinner that night, like, I mean, you just kind of just having a bit of extra, like, I mean, it must be the best feeling in the world to do that. I can't think of any sport where you can just show up basically your first time and beat the national champion basically at your first attempt.
Well, the funniest thing too was, you know how like for track and field athletes, the women, they like wear nothing. They wear like a sports bra spandex because they don't want to wear a lot of clothes. I was wearing like a baggy t-shirt, baggy shorts that said lacrosse all over it. So I already looked like I did not belong. And when
that adds extra weight to your win, I'm just saying right now. That just adds extra to
it. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that was my strategy going into it. It was like, okay, well, maybe if they think that I'm not that fast or they think that I'm not athletic, then it'll work in my benefit. But no, I mean, listen, if that happened to me, I would be pissed as well. Like if someone came in that I had no idea and then they beat me, like I'd be like, what's happening right now? I mean, but when I crossed the finish line, I mean, she was very nice, but I knew like right then and there, like we were not going to be best friends moving forward. We're competitors, but respectfully. I mean, her name is Scout Bassett. She's done so much for the sport. I'm very grateful to kind of gotten to meet her. And she was one of the people that I looked up to when I lost my leg. I would Google above knee amputee women, and she was one of the first people that came up. But yeah, leaving the race, I don't even know what I ate. Honestly, it was more so of me qualifying for the national team. That really was the big thing, because I knew that I needed making the national team. I mean, you don't get like a ton of funding, but you start to get, you get a stipend, monthly, you have access to different coaches, you have access to different competitions, you're part of a team again. So that was really important. And I just remember sitting in the hotel lobby with my mom and my prosthetist. He came along as well. And we were just all shaking our heads laughing, because the night before, my mom was telling me there was absolutely no way that I was going to win the race. So it was a really funny moment to be a part of.
Told you so, Mom.
I mean, I was like, all right, just keep telling me I can't do something and I'll continue to prove you wrong. I love it. I love that energy.
Wow. And then the moment when you eventually get given the clothing, the stars and stripes, USA emblazoned on it. I mean, I'm sure that hits a bit home there. And all of a sudden, that this is happening. I've got a new career now. I'm doing this.
Yeah, it was crazy, because I mean, the first time I got all that, like all the uniforms and everything, was when I qualified for World Championships for Dubai. And I had no expectations going into that first World Championships. I was just excited to be repping Team USA, to be competing alongside the best in the world. And I remember when I first got my uniform, I did a photo shoot immediately. I was like, I'm going to take all the photos and I'm going to post it. I mean, every single time you make a team, you got to have the uniform on and you got to start doing photo shoots so that you could, present it to the public and just be like, this is awesome. Like in my eyes, I thought it was so cool because I was wearing the same uniforms as all the Olympians. Because obviously I'm newly an amputee and I didn't know as much as I do now about the Paralympics and that sport. So I was just excited to have the same uniforms as Olympians. But now fast forward to where I am now, it's just, of course, we're up there with the Olympians. We're doing just as much work. We train every single day, just like the Olympians do. And the only thing that's different is the fact that we have a disability. Other than that, I mean, the competitive nature and where so many of these athletes are at. I mean, it's at the same level, if not higher than some of these Olympians. So it's really special to be a part of this movement. And I'm just excited that I've been able to learn so much. And I credit that to everybody that I'm surrounding myself with, all my teammates, and just so that we can get the same recognition as the Olympians, because we're just as important.
I completely agree. And I also just want to point out, I can't imagine Noah Lyles rocked up to his first 100-meter race and beat the national champion. So, just saying. Remember
Noah
that.
Lyles is a character. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I wish I could be that cocky. I really wish that I could. I mean, that's a skill. And listen, it works for him, but it's crazy.
Don't quite have Yu-Gi-Oh cards hidden in the uniform ready to go like before or after a race? Or
No, we don't have. I mean, we have a couple like loud energy personalities on the Paralympic team. But I mean, everyone is so great. I mean, where I train in California, I train with a group of Paralympians. There's, I believe, 8 or 9 of us, and we're all with different disabilities, but it's just so cool to be a part of. We're all training the same, and I get to look over at Noah Malone, who's the fastest Paralympian that Team USA has. He's visually impaired, and I always give him shit, and I'm just like, no, I'm faster than you. Let's get on the line. And it's just, we go back and forth all the time. I mean, for long jump, I get to practice every single day with Derek Loxodon. He's a Bologna amputee, a 2-time silver medalist. So when I first started long jumping and putting myself in that category, that was awesome. I mean, that was so cool. I have another person, Jaylene Roberts, Beatrice Hatz. And these are all, Paralympic medalists that I'm surrounding myself with. And I know that I can grow and get better and get to where they are, because I'm feeding in that energy every single day. And I'm trying to match it and see what they're doing and what I need to do to get myself to that level.
And I can imagine sort of in that period when you'd qualified, you'd gone to world championships, and you, back to what you're saying, surrounding yourself with these incredible athletes and going up against them. Is that then feeding that hunger and that desire to all of a sudden think, well, hey, I can make a Paralympics now with Tokyo just around the corner? And then did that set yourself that new goal to get towards those games?
Absolutely. I mean, everything is a stepping stone. So you go to world championships and you try to do as best as you can. And then you look at it when you get home and you're like, okay, well, how can I better myself to be prepared for when Paralympic trials rolls around? So when I came in 4th and broke the American record, I mean, I was still very new and I had no idea what I was doing. I remember calling my coach at home and he watched it live and he was like, you look terrible. Like, we have so much work to do. And I was like, all right, well, if he says we have more work to do, I mean, I love hearing that because I came in 4th. So I just need to fix a few things and maybe I can come home with a medal. But then, getting home from Worlds, and then the entire world had coronavirus happen, COVID, and Tokyo was postponed an entire year. And I honestly looked at it as a blessing in disguise. I told myself, you know what? You have a whole extra year to train and get better at a sport that you're not comfortable with. You've only been doing this for probably about a year and you still don't have a ton of competition experience, but now you can start working on the things that you need to work on and you have the time to do it. So I spent that entire year. I didn't take any time off. I remember, luckily the track that I go to at home was still open. So I would still practice every single day and I would work with my coach. But I mean, it prepared me, and I show up at trials and I qualify for my first Paralympic Games. And that was just a crazy feeling because the Paralympic trials are a lot different than the Olympic trials. For Olympic trials, if you show up and you come in the top 3, you qualify, you're going. But for the Paralympic Games, even if you win your race, it doesn't automatically mean that you're going, because you are put into basically a spreadsheet, and every single person has an A standard when they make Team USA, and you're on the national team. And basically every single year you have to hit an A standard or a B standard. So when they're picking a team for the Paralympic Games, say if my A standard for the 100-meter, for long jump was 5 meters, I needed to hit 5 meters. If I hit, 4.9 meters, then I'm not at 100%. So we're put into a spreadsheet, and I am competing not only with people with my disability, but every single woman with a disability trying to make Team USA. And they'll put us all into a spreadsheet, and it'll literally just go down the line who has the highest percentages, and that's how they pick the team.
And to clarify, Noelle, so this is against other categories. This is outside of your category as well. Wow.
Me, I am an above knee amputee. I am trying to fight for a spot with somebody who's in a wheelchair, somebody who's visually impaired, or somebody who has cerebral palsy.
Wow.
But I mean, it's not like I'm competing against them in the race, but if there's only 20 slots on the team, and say if 18 of the top females are all hitting over 100% of their A standard, if I don't hit over 100% of my A standard, I'm not going. So that's what the crazy thing about the Paralympics is. And I remember when I crossed the finish line and I won, everyone was congratulating me, texting me, but they weren't announcing the team for another week because of COVID. And they had to kind of, I honestly don't know why they made us wait an entire week, because they knew the team after, but, and so I had no idea. I wasn't answering anybody. I wasn't posting anything. I mean, obviously there are some people that do the math that literally will go down the line and see what everybody does, but I knew that I could not do that. But luckily I made the team, and, but that's the crazy thing about making the Paralympic team. And it's just getting harder. I mean, every single year there's more athletes and there's more people hitting their A standard. So I think for Tokyo, I didn't hit my A standard. I forget what my percentage was, but it wasn't a sure thing. So that's why I was on the edge of my seat. I was I don't know if this is happening, but luckily I was very fortunate enough to qualify and make the team. And going into Tokyo was crazy because, nobody was in the stands. None of my family members could go. We had to quarantine. We were quarantining. I mean, I actually got COVID 2 weeks before leaving, 2.5 weeks before leaving. And I was panicking because I was thinking, oh my God, can I not go now? But luckily, the doctors that I worked with here in New Hampshire, they were telling me that it would be out of my system before I even get on the plane. So I took all the COVID tests that I needed to. Luckily, everything came back negative. But then when I landed in Tokyo, my teammate and the girl I traveled with, she tested positive for COVID. So I immediately had to go into quarantine. So it was just
wow.
The start of my Tokyo Paralympic debut was not the greatest. But I mean, I just remember telling myself a few days in, listen, I didn't come here to go to the Paralympic Village or to hang out with my friends. I came here to compete and I came here to do the best that I could. And I ended up placing 6th in the world and breaking my own American record. But I knew that it was going to be so difficult medaling in that first games, just because of the fact that it was my 6th or 7th time competing ever. And all these other girls have so much more competition experience under their belt. And me, I'm still learning. So I viewed that as, listen, I made it to finals and I'm top 8 in the world, top 6 in the world. That's really special. But I told myself going into Paris, I wanted to be a different breed of an athlete. I wanted to be in medal contention and I wanted to bring home the medal.
I love hearing just that mindset of it, because we often talk to athletes on this show who, will get a certain placing at Olympics, and on paper, people will look at that and go, well, that's not great. But then to have that mindset of, well, you are top 8 in the world, you made the final and everything. And the way you put it, it's like your 6th or 7th race. I mean, for goodness sakes, anybody in life who is doing something that way. And also, can we also add the point that in Tokyo, it was pissing down with rain in that final as well.
Yes, it was
another thing we've got to remember, right? I mean, how
I was hoping that was going to
that?
help me a little bit, because I trained in the rain. I was ready for that. I love training in the rain. I don't mind it. And I love competing in the rain. So I was hoping that it would slip my other competitors up a little bit. But I mean, obviously it didn't.
4 years later it did, but just in a different way. We'll get to that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. No, I mean, because growing up and playing outdoor sports, I mean, I played in all conditions. I played in the rain, the snow. I'm used to anything. So I love when it rains I love when it rains and it's warm. If it's raining and it's warm, like I just think it adds this whole other dramatic effect, and it kind of amps me up a little bit more. I'm practicing in California, and every time it rains, everyone's like, "Oh, so like we're gonna practice indoors, like we're gonna do." I'm like I'm like, it can rain during a final. Like we've witnessed this multiple times. I'm like, let's just go outside. Who cares? It's like I can't keep training with these guys because they're gonna make me go soft.
California and rain, right? They barely know what to do. It kind of like,
yeah.
Is it? I mean, obviously, when it comes to certain like types of shoes in the wet and the running and the traction, with the blade itself, is that sort of built for like all conditions? Like, is there a level of like, I guess, grip that helps in the rain, or is it's adapted to the rain? If that makes sense.
Yeah, for track athletes, the bottom of our blades we have spikes, so. Right. That will, but if I don't know, for some of these like triathletes who are amputees, I'm curious to see what they use, because obviously they need a good traction and they can't slip. So I'm sure that they have something figured out, or something that would work. I mean, I can't imagine them being like, oh, we're not going to put like something that's really good with grip and weather. But yeah, for track, like I'm never worried that my blade is going to slip. Just because we have the spikes, luckily.
You mentioned about being there and you're there to compete, you're there to do your job, but we always do like to find out, Noelle, sort of just experiences outside of the competition. So, I mean, Tokyo, Paris, two very different, obviously, Paralympics, but things like village life, pin trading, things like that. Do you get involved in much of that in between and outside of your competitions when you can?
Yeah, so Tokyo, I missed out like when everybody was pin trading because I was in quarantine for that first week. But when I finally got to the village, like everyone was pretty much done. So I don't know. I think I got maybe like 1 or 2 pins. Tokyo was crazy. It was honestly kind of a blur just because we were really locked in the village. We couldn't go off and explore. They didn't even really want you exploring a lot in the village, or like your prospective teams, they just say, be careful with whatever you do. You don't want to get COVID, because if you get COVID, you're done. So we would all kind of just hang out in our rooms. Luckily, I had a good group of suite mates. But for Paris, it was entirely new. I mean, I think the coolest part about being a Paralympian too is you get to see all the Olympians go into the village and have their experiences, so you know what to expect. I think the best part about it was creating all the funny content. I mean, that was like a big thing for Paris. I mean, everyone was on social media, so you had to capitalize on it, and you had to capitalize on it because a lot of people were getting views, followers, and like, obviously, like, yeah, you're there to compete, but you want to make the most of it. I think the coolest experience was kind of the welcome experience that Team USA gets. I mean, we literally go into this building and we're getting all of our gear from Ralph Lauren to Nike. We're getting fitted. We're getting fitted for sunglasses, opening ceremonies, closing ceremonies. I mean, that was the coolest part that we didn't get to experience during Tokyo. And then I think for Paris, obviously, like just being able to actually leave the village, because the village can be very tense at times, especially like in the beginning, everyone's so happy. Everyone's like, oh my God, I'm so happy to be there. But then once the competition starts, everybody is like kind of locked in, and it's like a hit or a miss if if people are just too tense to talk. And I mean, it's a hit or a miss on the village food and the village dining hall. I wasn't crazy about it, honestly.
Not a muffin fan? Was a muffin at least good?
I don't like chocolate, so I didn't even try the chocolate, but I gave it to my fiance, and my fiance was raving about it.
Okay, that's good.
I mean, Team USA was very fortunate enough. We had like our own training facility, and we had like a dining hall there where the food was great. So, but I think having my family in Paris and like being able to leave the village and just like kind of not focus solely on the competition and just get my mind off of it for a night, and then I can go hang out with my family. I mean, I think that really helps, and it's very, very therapeutic. I mean, because you just don't want to be so tense all the time. You want to realize that, yes, you're there to compete, but also you're there, and this is a once in a lifetime experience or opportunity. So you want to enjoy it, and you don't want to look back being like, oh my God, like I was tense the entire time. I didn't even enjoy myself. So, I mean, I made the best of it, and I was very fortunate enough to have a great group of people there supporting me. So I was once my family got there, I was in and out of the village. I didn't even sleep there. I would sleep with my family and like my loved ones, because it was just like, I can actually get a good night's sleep and you're not in a twin cardboard bed. They actually, I will say, lot better in Paris than they were in Tokyo. They actually gave us like a mattress topper this time. So
that's good. Right.
That was completely fine. Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know. You can clarify something for me, Noelle, because I've heard whispers when it comes to something like uniform trading. So I know a lot of athletes like to do it during an Olympics and a Paralympics. I've heard whispers that Team USA do not let you trade uniforms. Is that true or is that not true?
It's not true. For track and field, they've never said you can't trade with a country, but you don't want to trade a uniform because you only get, like, for for Paris, I only got 2 different uniforms. So like that's the uniform you get, and you can't get another one. So if you give that away, and if you wanted to like hang it up, or if you wanted to compete in it again, you don't have that uniform. So I do have an Italian uniform, and she's still waiting, because I told her I can't give you this one, but I had like a couple others at home, because when you have like the games kit, like for the next 4 years, you have that same kit. So if you make a couple of world championship teams, you'll get the same kit. But for my experience, like when I went to Tokyo, like that was our first time getting that kit. And then going into Paris was like, that was my first time getting that kit. So like, I don't want to give this away. But I'm curious to see if for other Team USA athletes, if that's the case as well.
I didn't know if it was like a Ralph Lauren thing, like they were sort of like very, like, don't get rid of it. I don't know. That was just a whisper I'd heard that of all the countries of like a lot of athletes have said, we try to get Team USA uniforms, but we're told they can't trade them. So I don't know.
I think it's just because we don't get as many as we want. I mean, they're like, all right, like we're not giving you another one. I do know that like not uniforms per se, but like Team USA gear and stuff, like people will trade that. But the only time I've traded uniforms was with the Italian athlete. I mean, I think it's very cool to get like, because I see people all the time at the training center who are Team USA athletes. They have like Brazil, they have Mexico, like that they've traded some stuff with. But yeah, pin trading in Paris, I started doing it, but then I would always forget my pins to trade. And so people would want to trade with me, but I wouldn't have anything to give them. So I didn't want to be like, well, give me a pin. I don't give you one. So people take that seriously though. It's crazy. Oh, yeah. I mean, oh my God, my strength coach, I forget how many he got, but they have to wear their badges around their necks. And I'm like, oh, that would be so heavy and like annoying. But
we finally did a pin trading episode recently and sort of learnt a lot about, you know, the etiquette and supposed nature that these people who go to it. And I was on the ground with Team Australia during the Olympics, and I still think I have nightmares to this day of being asked about 100 times a day, do you have any pins? Do you have any pins? And as an Australian official, we got given like 10 pins. So like they were done in a day. So, you know, I don't have any pins.
The Australian pins are so cool though with the koalas. Yeah. I really enjoy. I think those are my favorite. That one, and I think Thailand. Thailand had like an elephant.
Is that the elephant one? Yeah, the elephant one. That was a really nice pin. Yeah, no, I definitely
USA had boring ones. Yeah.
I know one of my Australia ones. I went out of my way to get a USA one. We had a little office in the media center, and then Team USA obviously had one too. So I went up to like the Team USA, like, hey, do you want to trade in Australia for a USA one? I did. So but I think you guys had so many, like, so I don't know what one I got, but there was so many different USA ones from what I've seen other people have. So
yeah, makes sense. I wanted the Snoop Dogg one that was going viral.
Yes, right. The Snoop Dogg and the Simone Biles one, right? Like, wasn't the Simone Biles had a similar one as well?
Yeah, my coach ended up buying a Snoop Dogg pin, and like he was like trying to trade it for like, he was like, I need something really good for this. And I'm like, I have nothing to offer you. So
did Snoop stick around for the Paralympics at all?
No, unfortunately not. I wish, maybe, well, for LA, maybe we can get some big celebrity, because that was awesome. I mean, NBC paid him so much money to be there.
$500,000 a day, wasn't that the rumor? $500,000 a day,
something like that.
Yeah.
I was like, imagine getting paid just to have that much fun going to all these sporting events like that. Sounds awesome. But
it was, definitely. I was at 2 events that he was at, and definitely there was an aura in those arenas when all of a sudden Snoop came out. You're like, oh, Snoop's here. So you were just like, get pumped. Although the biggest disappointment was being at that closing ceremony and we all got like, yeah, come on, Snoop, let's perform. And then he's on a beach in LA. So
yeah,
we were like,
literally. Yeah.
damn it. There we go. I've got to ask though, in between Tokyo and Paris, you then also add long jump to your repertoire. What brought about this? And I mean, it seemed like a similar transition. You start doing it. You do pretty okay in it. You end up fourth in Paris doing that. But like, what sort of brought about doing the long jump as well as 100 meters?
Yeah, so in my classification group for the 100-meter, every single classification group in the Paralympic Games for track and field, everyone has something. So I compete against people with two legs with maybe a club foot, or there's another girl from Great Britain. I'm not entirely sure what her disability is. And then like all the Italian athletes, they are all cut off right at the knee. So they have a longer limb than I do. And so, I mean, is it enough to separate us? Absolutely not, because they don't have that many. They're not going to be able to have that many people to separate each classification group. I mean, if we had 25 people who were true above knee amputees and 25 people, they're called knee disartechs, then they would be able to split us up. But
so can I just interrupt? So to classify, so that's why you've got T42 and T63 are in that same race essentially.
Yeah. So the T42 are people with the two legs.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Which is a hot topic in my family and my friends, and it's just like something that it's not their fault. I mean, they combined all of us because there's not enough to separate, and they run similar times. So everybody who beats me either has the two legs or they have a longer limb than I do. And I can keep up with I can keep up with everyone for like the first 40, 50 meters, but then that's really when it starts to separate a little bit. And so in the back of my head, I was thinking, if I just make it to Paris, I'll probably end up retiring. And then one of Team USA's top head coaches, every time I went to California for camp at the Elite Training Center, he trains there year round. And he would be in my ear. He'd be like, listen, whenever you want to start long jumping, like he's a very well-established coach. He has, probably the winningest athletes under his belt. And so he was like kind of taking the time and showing the effort, saying, listen, if you're this fast in the 100, all I have to do is teach you how to jump, and I can get you jumping 5 meters. And to put into perspective, jumping 5 meters in my classification group, only 3 above knee amputee women in the entire world before I started have ever jumped over 5 meters. Wow. Nobody in the United States has done it. There were athletes that have had incredible careers and have retired and never touched 5 meters. And I was looking at him saying, okay, well, if you think I can jump 5 meters, then fine, let's give it a go. When I showed up at nationals in 2023, which was a selection meet for World Championships, which was also in Paris, I didn't make the team because I'm trying to compete for a slot against all these other incredible athletes hitting their A standard, and I wasn't hitting my A standard. I was also just coming off of Survivor, so it was a lot for me to get back in the swing of things with competing and just getting my body back to the way I want. And then that's really when it hit me, because I didn't make the team. And it was, one of those career defining moments of, okay, you can either quit, call it a great athletic career, hang it up, or you could go down the other road, flip everything upside down and start from scratch and start an entirely new event. And I think because I had the support of my coach in California behind me, kind of saying, I believe in you, we can get this done. That really was, okay, I'm going to go down this harder road, and I'm going to start from scratch. I literally moved out to California January of 2024, leaving behind, my fiance, my family, my dog, and I'm moving out to California, and I'm starting to do the long jump. And if I didn't jump 5 meters in that first season, I was not qualifying for Paris, because my A standard was 4.96 meters. So I need to be jumping either that or above it, or most likely I will not be going, because these teams are just getting harder and harder to make. And, 2 competitions in, I break the American record and I jumped 4.3 meters, which I wasn't even satisfied. By
0.65 meters. Can we just clarify? By more than half a meter, which I know Americans and meters don't really go well together, but for Australians, we know that's a long way.
Yeah. So I was telling myself I can't even be happy with this, because it's not going to get me to Paris. And then fast forward 5 months in, I jumped 5.06 meters at just like a typical college meet. And it was incredible. And then each competition after that, I was jumping 5 meters. I was getting up to 5.20 meters. I was jumping 5.29 meters. I was heading into Paris, ranked second in the world. So things were just clicking and things were working for me. And I mean, I was extremely excited and I was believing in my coach. And I think the advantage that I have is like when you start something new and you're trying to be told what to do, you're not really thinking about how to do it. You're just listening. I'm very coachable and I always take pride in that. It's like I'm very coachable where I can listen to my coach. If he tells me he wants me to do something, the next rep, I will do that. And I think that's really why I had such early success with it. And it was just like different things with the blade. And then when we got to Paris, so the world record for my classification group is 5.46 meters. So I mean, I'm like this far away. I'm centimeters away from it. So we start changing my alignment because we want to try to get that extra oomph to get me ready in a competition. And it honestly got to the point where I wasn't even comfortable with the prosthetic leg I was jumping off of. And I mean, it was a very long season. I started competing in January. And I mean, this is fast forward 9.5 months later, and I'm still competing. I think mentally it was taking a toll on me. I started to overthink everything because now I know what I'm doing and I'm trying to analyze and I'm trying to critique when I need to just shut my mind off and I need to just show up and compete. I mean, listen, when I placed fourth in the world and I was centimeters shy of that podium, I went home thinking that I was a failure, thinking this entire season was a waste. But then when I woke up the next morning, you know, I honestly couldn't help but feel proud of myself. I was honestly thinking I wasn't even going to qualify for Paris. And so to go into Paris, to have my A standard and to do what I've done in 9 short months, like what's going to happen when I have 4 extra years to train at an event that I'm doing so well at right now. So obviously that was my incentive and kind of kicking the ass of saying, okay, well, you have to do LA 2028 and you have to come home with that gold medal. No ifs, ands, or buts, because the only reason why I did not medal in the Paris Paralympic Games was because of me. I made so many rookie mistakes and I touched my alignment. I was mentally not there and I wasn't preparing myself the way I should have. So now I know exactly what I need to do going into these major competitions now. And that just makes me that much more excited. It's just, you know, I always need that something to happen where I'm never going to quit. And who knows? At this point, I've been talking to my coach. I might be going all the way to 2032 in Australia.
Come to Brisbane. They're building a stadium now, so we know what's going to happen. So come on down.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah. I mean, hey, if I could do it as long as possible, I'm going to do it. But the agreement I have with my coach is that I am done with the 100 meter after LA. I'm trying to be done with the 100 meter right now. But it's
and
kind
just
of
focus on long jump. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
I would love to do that. I mean, obviously the training for the 100 meter is only going to help me for the long jump. It's not going to make me worse. But the reason why I'm not crazy about it is because I have 2 different alignment setups for the 100 meter and for the long jump. And so going back and forth a lot, I need to do a lot more sprinting work with my long jump blade. And that's something that my coach and I have talked about, and we're working with it. But I mean, I just know all these awesome athletes that are ahead of me. And I'm just thinking to myself, am I ever going to beat them? I don't know. I mean, listen, I don't know if you watched my 100 meter final in Paris, but anything can happen. 2 people fell. I didn't come in last. I came in 7th.
I was going to, but before I get to that, I mean, just one thing, just on everything that you were saying there, though, Noelle, it's just the amazement that I take away from Paris is that 12 months prior to that, you weren't doing that event, and yet here you are coming away from a Paralympics 4th in the world. I was literally going to ask you, what's the 3rd event you're adding to LA based on this progression that you do? But based on that, it's probably not going to happen. But I mean, I again love that mindset of the disappointment and that switches focus because, as you said, so much can happen in a 4-year period that you rapidly rose through this event in less than 9 months. I'm telling you now, we're very proud of Vanessa, obviously, for what she's done in your event as an Australian.
Awesome athlete.
She needs to be beaten, all right? Come on, LA, home Paralympics.
Vanessa actually reached out to me when she saw that I first started long jumping, and she was giving me some tricks and some cues to work on. So her and her husband are great. I really am honored to be training alongside them. But Yeah, I would love to beat her. I mean, obviously, what she jumped in Paris, I've jumped that in practice. So I mean, listen,
Wow.
it can be done, but Vanessa's a beast of an athlete. I respect her so much. Just to be up there with her, I think is amazing. Even she was saying to me in Paris, because she could see that I was in my head, because my coach is yelling to me, like, can we try to make the blade shorter? And I'm just like, no, I'm literally in the middle of competing. I don't know if we can do this right now. And Vanessa's like, listen, just jump, just have some fun. And I thought that was amazing. I mean, she's truly such an incredible competitor. She got me a little excited when she posted a picture of her in a wheelchair, like a racing wheelchair. And I'm like, oh my God, is she switching? Is she not competing anymore?
Yes, I'm in.
Yes. But listen, no, it helps us get better. That's what the competitive spirit is. So if I have to jump close to 6 meters to beat her, then I'm loving it. If she jumps 6 meters, I'm hoping she retires. Fingers crossed. But no,
drives you further, basically, with that one. I mean, you touched on the 100 meters. I mean, I just rewatched it again just before this interview, Noelle, and it's the drama, everything, the way that Amber sort of falls right near the end. I mean, she was on track literally to get her second consecutive gold. She comes down. I mean, what do you even have time to think in that moment when you're sort of approaching the finish line and you see her tumbling towards you? I mean, like, what are you thinking at that point?
Yeah. Well, going into it, obviously, like, I was the only true above knee amputee in the finals. Like the other ones got knocked off before. And so I was just like, you know what? This is my last event. I'm so excited. I was leaving the next day for Italy for vacation. I'm just like, I'm so excited to be here, but like, I'm ready to just cross this finish line. And when we were going into the call room, I know Ambra very well. So Ambra and Monica and Martina, they allowed me to go to Italy and allowed me to work with their prosthetic guy because he's figured out like different alignments for above knee amputees. So I have a very great relationship with the Italian crew because I'm so grateful for them. I mean, they allowed me to go and work with him. And because of that, I was running an entire second faster in the 100 meter. Like I've obviously made strides to get myself better, but I mean, these girls are just so incredibly fast. So yeah, there was something going on in the call room with her prosthetic and she wasn't comfortable with it. She was just getting in her own head. Obviously, like I'm trying to focus on my own race. I'm not trying to bother her at all. I mean, when it happened, I kind of blacked out, but I mean, there's a picture of me like with my mouth open, like looking down at what just happened. And I remember when I crossed the finish, I felt terrible because Amber was going to win. And you really feel for her, like in that moment, like, of course, like you don't want to go out like that. You trained 4 years for this one moment. But she was, very good spirits. It was actually really funny. I don't know if you saw the video, but like the two people with 2 legs that medaled, they're celebrating, obviously, because they won. Then all the other amputees, they're going and checking on the other amputee and they're just like, are you all right? But I mean, it happens in sports. I mean, there's so many crazy things. I don't even know if it was the blade that she tripped on. I think it was just like her movement and maybe she was just going too fast for her blade to keep up. I don't know, but I was happy to see that Monica still got the bronze. Because Monica was the one that I actually shared
to the line, wasn't it? Like it was like Superwoman diving for the line. Yeah, it was insane. Yeah.
I mean, it was terrible, but I know she's just going to come back stronger. Ambra's actually starting the long jump, so she'll probably have something like So I mean, one Italian retired, now she's coming in, so it's great. It's just going to grow the sport even better. And yeah, it makes me excited for World Championships this September.
How was the Italian vacation? I mean, I didn't know if you were getting sick of all the Italians beating you all the time. So I was surprised you actually went to Italy, right?
Yeah, no, it was great. My fiance and I went to Sardinia. Nice. I literally just sat on a beach and sat on a boat for a week. Because, obviously when you're training for the Olympic, Paralympic Games, you don't have a summer, you don't have a vacation, you have nothing. So this was my 1 week summer jammed, into a small time. But no, it was great. It was exactly what I needed. I think because, so many athletes struggle when they come home from like the Olympic or Paralympic Games because they're at such a high and then they get home and they're like, all right, now what? Because we have 4 extra years or you're retiring. So I think just going off to another island and shutting off my brain, it was exactly what I needed. But yeah, then after that week of eating pasta and just literally all the ice cream and all the things that I couldn't eat all before the Paralympics, ready to come home to be on US soil again and just start working towards and figure out what I need to do to get myself prepared for world championships. So obviously in the back of my head, I wasn't trying to give up. It was more so I needed a very long break. I mean, and I gave myself a very long break. I didn't start long jumping until February of this year.
Wow.
I mean, you don't really, I mean, yes, you need to, but I think all of us as a training group, we were just doing mostly lifts, HIIT workouts. We weren't even touching the track until January because just your body needs a break, your mind needs a break. And it was exactly what I needed. And then I was eager to get back on the track and eager to go to California, even though I bought a house here in New Hampshire with my fiance. So it was in the middle of everything. And I go back and forth a lot. This is probably my 4th or 5th time coming home this year, but I understand that I need to have some sacrifices and I need to be in the best training environment that I can give myself. So that's why I'm happy to go to California. I mean, it's good now because now our competition season is just starting up. We competed last weekend. Our next competition's not this weekend, next weekend. So it's good. Everything's starting to come into place again. And then,
We're looking forward to seeing how that's tracking. And again, LA 28, I mean, it's literally in your backyard, essentially, where you're training right. And I think the most exciting thing, particularly when it comes to the Paralympics, is back last time the US had the Summer Olympics in Atlanta, we've had several Atlanta Paralympics on and how different the world of the Paralympics were back in 1996 compared to that. Now, obviously, it's all under the same organizing committee, the same banner, whereas back then it was separate. So, I mean, I feel this is really going to be the first true Summer Paralympics on US soil where it's kind of at the level that we expect the Paralympics to be at right now, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, LA has some big shoes to fill with Paris because that was a 70,000 people stadium sold out every single event. And that was incredible. So we need to bring that energy and we need to bring, we need to have that home court advantage because that was the coolest. I had never experienced something like that in my entire life. I mean, obviously, who has until they go to that platform and that environment. But I mean, it was always incredible. You'd get chills every single time a French athlete was competing because it just, the stadium erupted and it was just amazing. So I know we can do it. I know we can pull it off, but we really have some big shoes to fill. And I'm just excited because it's just going to keep growing. It's just going to keep getting better. And I mean, we're in these stadiums and we're in these environments that are just winning. So something to be excited for.
That's why I say keep going to Brisbane as well. And you'll taste the Australian passion that we have
Absolutely. I love it. I'm doing it.
Level. Before we get to sort of our 10 questions that we like to close out with, Noelle, 2 things I want to touch on. Born to Run Foundation. Tell us a little bit about this. You're wearing the sweater of it right now, but this is a great initiative that you've sort of created. Tell us what it is and tell how people can maybe learn more and get involved with it.
Absolutely. I started the Born to Run Foundation with my family when I was a senior in college. So I touched on it a little bit earlier, but insurance companies will only cover your everyday walking prosthetic. They will not cover a specialized prosthetic, which is anything from a running blade, a waterproof prosthetic, a lifting leg, cycling leg, basically any leg you can think of. They have it nowadays. And I was very fortunate enough to receive 3 different specialized prosthetics from 3 different amazing foundations. And seeing the work that those foundations do, it really resonated with me. And it made me realize that this is something I needed to do. I needed to give back all the support and helping hands that I received and portray the message out to the world that if I can go through something like this with my accident and losing my leg and still living the life that I want to live, then 100% so can anybody else. And the foundation focuses on donating specialized prosthetics to amputees in need that just need or want a running blade, or they want a waterproof prosthetic so that they go to the beach and go to the pool. And it's always a full circle moment for me every single time we do a donation, because I was that one amputee just sitting in my prosthetist office waiting for this one leg so that I could just run again or I could just live a normal life. So I'm extremely grateful for all the support that we have received. If people want to get involved, you can follow us on social media at the Born to Run Foundation, or you can go to www.theborntorunfoundation.org and read up on all the past recipients that we've been able to donate and kind of read about their stories, because it's always so amazing and it's always so inspiring and motivating. And it just makes me want to give back even more. Luckily, I have my incredible mother who is everything with the foundation. She's the real MVP when it comes to the foundation because she has a full-time job, but she also is the one basically running the entire thing. I'm just the face and I'm just the person that says yes or no. Like she's making all the difficult decisions. So I am very fortunate enough to have the support that I do with the foundation.
Great. Shout out to your mum. We'll tag it on all these posts as well, and then everything along those lines to get it out there as well. I just, before I get to the questions too, my Survivor-related question is a very interesting one, right? Because back when we used to host the Survivor podcast, we'd ask a set of questions at the end of that, and one of them was always related to Jeff Probst. You know, tell us something about Jeff Probst that maybe we don't know. The one answer that we got without fail, and I interviewed maybe close to 400 Survivor contestants over this show's history, is that he swore a lot. Now, we haven't had a lot of people on this show from Survivor post-season 40 in this sort of more modern, new age, nicer Jeff Probst world. But can you clarify, does Jeff Probst still swear a lot in modern Survivor?
He does.
Okay, good. All right.
You know what? Like, Jeff, yes, he shows like on the TV, like when you're watching it, he's like, like he softened up a little bit. He hasn't softened up at all. He will yell at you if you need to get yelled at. And he means business. And
I assumed he would. I didn't believe it, Jeff. I'm sorry. I just never believed this cuddly teddy bear Jeff Probst. I didn't believe it.
Yeah, I think it's just the editors, and I think it's just the time that we live in now where everybody's kind of sensitive, and I hate it. I'm like, I love all the cutthroat stuff. Yell at me, please. Like I love that stuff.
Completely agree with you.
I mean, in a couple hours, I don't know if you watch the seasons live, but 48. Supposedly he cries on tonight's episode.
I saw the promo. I saw like in 48 seasons, you've never seen an episode like this.
You didn't cry. I'm like, you didn't cry for my comeback episode, Jeff. Like, what are you crying about? No, I'm just kidding.
I remember there was one he like fake. I swear it was like a fake tear in one of these tribal counts. I'll never forget there was one he just like briefly brushes a tear. But okay.
No, I mean he still swears. It's crazy because like when you're going through the casting process, they actually encourage you to swear because it loosens you up a little bit. And, like, obviously we're not having a ton of downtime with Jeff Probst. Like, honestly, we see him when everybody else sees him on the screen. He doesn't like come and hang out with us when we're literally sitting on the island. But when the cameras are off and like, we're just talking, like, he's such a cool guy. And like, he'll just talk to you back and forth. I remember when I was talking to Ryan and I was telling him, cause he has cerebral palsy, I'm like, I'm going to get you into the Paralympics. And we were at Tribal Council, and this was like one of the last episodes, and we were on the jury. And I'm like, Jeff, I'm like, Ryan's going to be in Paris with me for the 2024 Paralympic Games. And his face lit up. He was like, are you kidding me? That's fucking awesome. Fast forward, freaking 2 years later, Ryan comes home with 2 silver medals. And I'm like, you're okay. I need one of those silver medals because I brought you.
Exactly. He's got 2 of them. He has to give you one, right? Like that's only fair.
Yeah.
Wow. No, I was gonna ask about Ryan, actually. I was gonna ask you sort of about
Ryan,
that.
Oh my God. Character. And then I did this other game show with Ryan called Raid the Cage. It was just like listen, thank God for Ryan, because I won all these prizes and we won some money because he was a beast in the cage. So I was very fortunate with that. But Jeff Probst,
you're to thank for his career. You're to thank for his career.
I know. So like I felt bad at first, but then I was, because like he didn't want, like I took the Tuscany, Italy trip. I'm like, I need a honeymoon. I'm getting married in September. He was like, all right, fine. I'm like, I don't even feel bad about this because like literally I got you your 2 silver medals, so it's fine, whatever.
How do you think Jeff would go in several Olympic events? I don't know what Jeff Probst's event would be. I know he always gets asked.
He's a shorter guy.
Yeah.
He's a shorter guy, so I don't know. I could see him like equestrian or something like that, being like, maybe something. I don't know. Maybe for track events. I could see him being maybe good at the pole vault because he's I don't know. Do you need to be sure? You need to be like a smaller, no, because there's tall guys that do a pole vault. I don't know.
Little legs though, right? Quick little Jeff Probst sprinting along with a pole.
I mean, like he's just not that tall, so like I don't think he'd be able. But there are some short guys. All right, maybe he could do well. Maybe he can do well with like distance, like a mile or something. I love because he always gets asked the how would you do in Survivor question. I'm like, nah, throw it around him. How would you do in the Olympics? How far behind Noelle would you be in the 100 meters? You'd be like lapping him in the 100 meters. He'd be, little legs. I reckon you'd kick his ass. Long jump. I don't think so. I mean, it's so funny because people are like, oh, you could probably beat me in the 100. I'm like, If you're like pretty in shape, you could probably beat me. But I also am missing a knee. So it's like if you were just hopping on one leg, maybe I could beat you.
I guarantee you, Noelle, that you could probably crawl your way in the 100 meters and you would still beat me. So I'm not going to sit here and claim that I could beat you. No, you haven't seen me run. You haven't seen me. I'm the proud owner of the lowest division last place in my 100 meters in high school. That's how bad I was. I tried it once and then I'm like, that's it. I mean, I was a lot larger back then, but I mean, still, I just, that's my athletic career.
That's the best.
I tried. I tried, right? That's the main thing. We wrap up every interview. We've got a set of 10 questions. We call these the OTP 10 standard questions that all our guests get asked right now. And I'm going to start with the big one, what's the one thing you never leave home without when traveling to a competition question?
One thing I will never leave behind is I have like a parachute bag that I need to be able to put my leg on. If I don't have that parachute bag, I cannot get my leg on because I don't have a liner, what a lot of amputees have. I have a skin fit. So if I don't have that, I can't compete. And the amount of times that I've forgotten that, I mean, I've gone on vacation and I have forgotten it. And it's just been, I need to go and buy like a long sleeve and cut the long sleeve off and use that. So.
Really? Wow. Yeah. So like there's a workaround, but I'm guessing it's not the same as when you got that.
It's not. Yeah. It's you need like baby powder to get it to like actually go in. But no, so yeah, I've learned my lesson and I have like 6 of them like stashed like everywhere, like in different places, just in case I was missing it or just in case I lost it or something like that.
Nearly one for every day of the week, basically. It's kind of
right?
Like,
Literally. Yeah.
You know how there used to be those like underwear would say like Monday, Tuesday. I had a friend, she would wear day of the week undies and every day like we'd hang out. She'd go to the bathroom. Guess what day it is today, Ben? Oh, Wednesday. Oh, how do I know that? Yep. Just why not, right? You need to know what day of the week it is. Number 2, what is a tradition or superstition you follow before every big competition?
Wow, I have a lot. I'm very superstitious. I'm like borderline OCD a little bit.
We like to hear it.
I would say like I put my hair up in a ponytail and I can't fix it. Like it has to stay. I can't take it out. Like if it's loose, I can't. I literally just has to stay there. What's another one? I mean, it's things that I wear. Like I wear the same competition sports bra. I wash it, of course. I'm not like Michael Jordan where I don't wash my things. But that
question comes up a lot when you say that. I can imagine. Yes. Do you wash it?
Yes, I do. I do wash it. I mean, there are so many different things. I mean, in my everyday life, I have so many superstitions. It's so stupid. And my mom, it's so funny because like, obviously my mom, I grew up right alongside my parents, but my mom would always like catch me doing something. And then she would like deliberately try to move things out of place. And it would just piss me off. And I'd be like, stop. I'm also like being born in New England sports culture, like in watching the Patriots, Celtics, Red Sox, Bruins, like, it would get very like people couldn't touch the remote. Like the remote had to stay in one place. You remember when the Patriots were losing like 28-3? Yeah. We made my dad go up to bed. And then they started coming back and they won. So
I'm all on board with that. I do that with my sports teams as well. Like that I have these things that if like you do one thing and they're winning, like, okay, well, I won't not do that moving forward. And there have been times where I go for 2 teams in the NHL. One of them's the Flames, and I remember one of the playoffs they were in. They were like winning. It was like game 6 or something like that. It was like 90 seconds to go. I just couldn't watch it. I just physically was sick because I'm like I'm so nervous. And I think it was against the Avs. That might have been the year they won the Stanley Cup. Anyway, we lost. It was a standard thing, but it was just like I get so nervous that I'm just like I've got to leave the room. So it's completely completely get it. You've had enough success though as Boston fans though, right? Like, like sport for choice in your lifetime with all the championships you guys keep winning. So, that's at least lucky. Number 3, what is a song that is on every one of your pre-competition playlists no matter what?
So it's really funny because I'm going through a phase right now where I'm obsessed with Sabrina Carpenter. Anything Sabrina, I don't know what it is. Because when she first became big, like I didn't understand it, but I think it was TikTok that just like swallowed me in to the people that are obsessed. So anything Sabrina Carpenter. I mean, I'm also an old school gal. I love like all old school R&B. I'm like the type of person that like for me to vibe, like I need to be able to sing. Like I don't like those songs where I'm not heavily big on rap. I mean, I'll listen to it, but I'm not going to rap. I don't know. I feel weird rapping. I don't
There
look
goes
like
my next
type
question. I was gonna,
Yeah.
you're not getting
Yeah,
you
so I mean-
get a rap on the show.
Yeah.
Did
No, actually.
I was
go
going to
ahead.
say, did you get in the Drake Kendrick debate on the rap side of things? Do you have a side to go on that?
No, I mean, I heard about it. Like like everyone in my training group would talk about it and stuff like that, but I never really got. I mean, because like you have to still appreciate Drake and everything, like all the music that he's brought. But I thought the Kendrick, like just the Super Bowl performance was wild. But it was just so funny because like people who don't understand it, like my parents, like everybody, like the older generation, they were just like, that halftime show was awful. I'm like, you don't understand like what went behind that halftime show. No, but I mean, I never got behind. I mean, I was never like, oh my God, I'm so invested. No, I mean, I learn all my news and information from TikTok. I'm very embarrassed to say that, but if TikTok didn't tell me something, then I probably don't know it.
I feel like we were always going to add an 11th question to this, like Team Drake or Team Kendrick, but we get a lot of Canadians on this podcast, so therefore, it might be skewed to the Drake column. But hey, they've got to defend their man, right? That's only natural.
Yeah, right. They have to.
They have to. Somebody's got to. What's the most unexpected or funny DM that you've ever gotten as an Olympian?
I don't even know about so I would say from Survivor. I mean, wild DMs. But when we voted for Gabler to win, that wasn't a lot of people did not like that.
Wow.
And I mean, I obviously like I know all these people like aren't real and like the reason why they're like in our DMs, but like I received so much love throughout the entire season. So like the only time where I received hate was when like we voted for Gabler, and it wasn't just me; like everybody was getting it.
Why though?
There were people.
What was wrong with Gabler? Gabler was fine. What was wrong with Gabler?
Right. Everyone thought Cassidy should win, and listen, like it's like people have their opinions, but you have no idea. Like, I mean, editing plays a huge part in the show, and so like obviously people are going to get stronger edits, better edits, worse edits. So there were so many other things like for the reason why we voted for Gabler, like that, it just wasn't shown. Obviously, the person that should have won our season was Jesse Lopez, because he was the one directing every single vote. And then he lost to Gabler during fire making. And then he literally like put us like he set himself up so that the other three people that he was against, he could beat in a landslide. So that's why like it was so difficult when he left during fire making, and we were all like, well, what do we do now? Because all of us were thinking that we were just going to vote for Jesse. And I mean, Gabler just had like, nobody cares about the physical game anymore of Survivor. Everyone cares about the social game. And I mean, obviously watching it back as a jury, we don't see all the confessionals. We don't see any confessionals. So like, we don't understand how somebody's playing the game until we watch it live. And so that's why like watching it back, like I understood like so much more of Cassidy's game and so much more of Owen's game. And like I've admitted this to Cassidy. I'm like, listen, obviously, like I didn't appreciate your game as much as I should have, but yeah, people did not like the fact that we voted for Gabler and didn't vote for Cassidy. I mean, people were literally there was this one person that literally was like telling me to lose my other leg. It was so funny. Wow. And like I would literally just respond being like, that's the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me in my entire life. So I mean, you get like a ton. I mean, but listen, everybody goes on Survivor, everybody gets hate. And that was one thing that Jeff actually told us, like when we were out there, he was like, listen, I just want to prepare you guys. He was like, you can get a new haircut. 100,000 people think you look so handsome. You look so pretty. There's going to be 5 million people that think you look like a complete idiot and you shouldn't have gotten that haircut. He was like, don't pay attention to it. And that's what I told myself. I'm like, obviously, like none of these people are real. Nobody would say this to my face. So like, I'm just going to make a joke of it. Like I could truly care less. At the end of the day, it's a game. It's a reality television show. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And so that's why, like, I would have so much fun with it. And I would just mess with people. 9 times out of 10, you answered them. These people that were so mean, and they would respond being like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Okay, you're actually cool, because they didn't expect me to answer. And so that's why I would just have fun with it.
And that is the number one advice I give to anybody dealing with the Survivor fan community after dealing with it for a very long time. It's they don't expect you to chirp back. Yes. But wow, I just, some of those types of messages you get, I'm glad that you're able to sort of like push through it and shut them down.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah. No, I thought they were really funny.
Get through that. What is the weirdest thing that you have ever eaten at an international competition, and did you like it?
Frog legs in Paris,
Ooh,
actually. Loved
okay.
it. Very good.
Nice.
Very, very good. Yeah. And then I had them again in New Orleans, but the ones I had in Paris they were very good.
How do they cook frog's legs? Like
They can cook them either way. They can grill them or they can fry them. I had them both. So I believe no, actually, I don't think I've had them fried. I believe both times like they were grilled and like just seasoned with like herbs and like garlic. So that's what they just tasted like chicken. It wasn't really that big of a deal, but
you've eaten them.
They were good.
Tick it off the list, right? That's important.
Yeah.
You kind of answered this before, I want to say, when you talking about what you were eating when you were in Italy. But what's your ultimate guilty pleasure meal after a big competition? Is it like the pasta and ice cream that you're talking about?
No, it's Chipotle. I don't know.
Chipotle, yes.
Do you have Chipotle in Australia?
We don't have it, but I know exactly what it is. I've had it many times there.
Oh my God. That was the only thing I craved when I was out there on Survivor was Chipotle. And ever since I've done, I'm obsessed. I have to have it at least once a week. My nutritionist allows me to have it once a week, but only on high volume days. So
was as soon as you got off the plane from Fiji, was that just like straight to a Chipotle?
So it was crazy because we landed like from Fiji, we went to LA, and then I had like a 9-hour layover and I just didn't want to leave the airport. So like I ended up just getting like some Mexican spot, and then I was taking the red eye. And so I was landing in Boston at like 6 a.m. So I couldn't even have Chipotle until like later that day, but it was still worth it. I mean, at that point I was out of the game like for, I don't know, 6 days. So it was like, I was still eating. Like that was just like the one thing. I mean, everyone just talks about food when you're out there. It's like, oh, what are you going to eat when you get home? And like, it was the weirdest combinations, but mine was just Chipotle. I was like, I want a giant burrito. I want a giant bowl. And then I just want to eat all of it. And then, but yeah.
So they don't seem to do a lot of those sponsors. I remember the season where they had like the Outback Steakhouse Ponderosa meal, and like on the Australian one we get our version of Burger King often, like, you know, the Whoppers and all that. So KFC is a big thing here. So I'm surprised they've never done Chipotle for Survivor. That would work.
They should. They've done last year or at some point they did Applebee's, which that's a pretty big one. Yeah.
Yep.
Which I love.
TGIFs, I think at one point, didn't they? Didn't they do TGIFs, I think at one point?
If I was out there and they brought one of those, I was pissed that the next season it was Applebee's. And I was like, are you kidding me? Terrible.
Come on.
Yeah.
If you could swap sports for a day with another Olympian, what event would you choose and how do you think you'd go?
I think I would want to try the diving off the board, like when you're so high up in the air. I would be terrified. I think that would just be so exhilarating and so fun.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many different Olympic sports that I would love to try, but that one is
lacrosse now on the Olympic agenda for LA.
It is getting, finally LA. I need to go to that too, because I mean, lacrosse is still a very special place in my heart. I know a lot of the girls who are on the team. So I need to finagle my way into somehow getting in so I can see that.
I'm wondering, I'm not confident that we'll keep it for Brisbane because, as I said before, lacrosse not a massive sport here. But if I'm not mistaken, I think in the last couple of years, one of our men's or women's teams might have finished second or third in the World Championship. So maybe if we do well in LA, maybe we will keep it for Brisbane. So,
wow, yeah. That'd be awesome. I mean, I hope, because it's just such a cool sport. So I know it's big in Japan right now. Like, Team USA goes all the time, like every year, and they'll go to Japan. Then they go to Tokyo and then they just do camps and like so many people show up.
Yeah, and I got to grow the sport. This is why I look at cricket being introduced in LA, not Brisbane, right? Like, I mean, sort of American cricket doesn't really go too well. You'd assume that would be waiting to Brisbane, but hey, you guys are giving it a crack. So bring on the cricket. If your journey through your career, your Olympic journey, were a movie, what would the title be and who would play you?
Perfectly Imperfect, I think would be a good title.
Good one.
I don't know who would play me. I think.
Can I make a suggestion? I'm looking at you like maybe Shailene Woodley. Like, I think like kind of like a bit of vibes there. That could work.
I like that. Yeah, great actress. I do know who would play my father. Mark Wahlberg would play my father.
Yes.
Yeah, the Boston accent, the Boston.
Boston. I'm not even going to attempt to do a Boston accent, but yes, I don't want to offend you in the last couple of questions here. I like that though.
No.
I appreciate that you can like come up with the title straight away. Like it's almost like you're working on a movie here. Is there a script in the works?
No, it's not the movie. Yeah, it's not a movie. I would love to write a book. I'm like kind of in the process of wanting to do a book. But it's very competitive. Books are very competitive. So I don't know, maybe.
We'll plug it when it comes out, Noelle. We know you're
exactly.
bestseller. Don't worry about that. This one's a question that always scares me because I might have asked you this question throughout this interview. But what's the one question you're tired of being asked, and what's the one you wish people would ask you instead?
I mean, it's like I don't really get sick of when people ask me, like, I mean, it's so funny. If you ask my fiance that question, he would be like the survivor questions. That's like top of the list for him. But like for me, like I enjoy it so much. And it's like, because I always love to see their reactions and like see like what other people think about like different things. I don't know. I think like maybe like, oh, like how'd you lose your leg? Even though like I joke around and like do different ways anyways.
What's the funniest one you've ever said? Like when somebody's asked you that, what's like the most outlandish?
It fell off because I didn't eat my vegetables. I always say that to kids.
That's got to scare the life into them. That's a great answer.
Yeah. I would think like, what do I want people to ask more about? I mean, I think it is like, the stuff that we talked about today with like the Paralympic journey and like how they picked the Paralympic teams and like just how it's so much different. I think it's such important information that I wish everybody knew, because then they would understand like how much harder it is to make a Paralympic team. So maybe stuff like that. I mean, but I'm sure that'll continue to grow and that'll continue to be like more of a topic once we get closer to LA. But yeah.
That was great. I mean, I learned that today as well. I wasn't aware of that sort of how it works. So educational, right? That's what we want. Last question for you, and this is the deep one that ends on a deep positive note. What is one lesson you have learnt from losing that has shaped you more than winning?
One lesson that I've learned from losing is don't try to fix something that's not broken. And that's something that I learned from Paris. Trust what gets you there. I shouldn't have touched my alignment, shouldn't have touched any of that stuff. But also, believe in the team that you have surrounding yourself. And if you don't have a team, do whatever you can to find a team to surround yourself, because, surrounding yourself with positive people, successful people only help you set you up for success in the future. And it can only help. And I'm living, breathing proof of I would not be where I am today without the team behind me.
Great answer. That's why we ended on that one, to sort of uplift the spirits and go with that. Noelle, before we let you go, plug yourself, social media, TikTok, Instagram. You've got a great website. I mean, where can people sort of follow your journey between now, LA, Brisbane, beyond?
Yes, you can follow me on any of the social media platforms at Noelle Lambert, my name. And if you want to check out my website, it's www.noellelambert.com.
We love websites on this show because it makes my job easier too, because when you have great bios and great links, it doesn't mean I have to dig as deep as sometimes I do.
I need to update mine a little bit more, but yes, I will.
We appreciate that. I'll definitely add that. Noelle, it's been an absolute honor and a pleasure to chat with you on the show today. Good luck between now, LA, and beyond. And we'll get you back on the show either before LA, after LA at some point, and we'll discuss all the Paralympic medals that are going to be around your neck at that point.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much, Ben, for having me. It was truly an honor. And I'll see you next time.